So this is becoming a very dangerous situation. If you are watching from New Boston, right along I-30, a confirmed tornado now. Let me double check the... so they're going with a tornado emergency now for the tornado warning in Bowie County. That doesn't happen very often. So let me read the specifics on this. Tornado emergency now for Bowie County in New Boston, Texas. A tornado warning. Okay, so this is straight from the National Weather Service, just in now. A confirmed large and destructive tornado located over New Boston, moving east at 25 miles an hour. So this is now an emergency situation. Catastrophic damage possible. A confirmed large and deadly tornado moving right into the northern sections of New Boston. So please, if you're watching me right now, please take shelter immediately. Don't panic. You got time. This storm is moving slowly. But if you're ahead of this storm, please take shelter. Get into an interior room. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, because this is now a particularly dangerous situation. A confirmed large and destructive tornado located over New Boston, moving east at 25 miles an hour. So definitely kind of amping things up. It was Doppler indicated earlier, and now it looks like this is now a confirmed tornado. So let me just get right back into the radar here. Let's go into the radar picture. And again, yeah, that is definitely not what we like to see here. So that is moving just to the north and east of New Boston, if not right in downtown New Boston. But this is dangerously close to New Boston and moving right along Interstate 30. So if you know anyone that's traveling on Interstate 30, give them a call and tell them just to hold off travel for a little bit here, because this is a pretty dangerous situation. Let me look at the tornado debris signature now. Still don't see any real, that could actually be something right there. Let me double check here. Let's look at the last 45 minutes or so. And that right there, it's hard to make out, but that could be a debris signature. Let me take a look at my other radar source here and just see if I see anything here. And again, if you're just joining us, we do have a tornado warning for Bowie County, Texas, and this is a tornado emergency. So according to the National Weather Service, this is a confirmed large and deadly tornado on the ground right now, moving closer to New Boston and getting towards Victory City. So again, don't really see a lot showing up on Debris Tracker, but the National Weather Service has a lot of other tools at their disposal, and they are able to really see that this potentially is causing damage. And this right here, this little yellow that you see on the debris tracker could be a tornado causing damage. I'm not certain on that, but there could be a tornado causing damage in the northeastern sections of New Boston right now. Let's go back to our velocity, and that is a pretty strong circulation. So let me look at a couple different sources here. And again, that is your tornadic circulation right there, just to the north, just barely north of New Boston. This is going to be traveling right along Interstate 30. So this is the area of rotation right there. So again, reds away from the radar, greens towards the radar site. And again, this is now a tornado emergency here for Bowie County, Texas. So let me do another track on this storm. Let's zoom out just a bit. And I want to give everyone in the path of this as much advance warning as possible here. So again, this is kind of cruising right along Interstate 30, which is the worst case scenario that you want to see, because obviously there's probably a lot of people traveling. I sure hope not. Hopefully they're watching this or getting this warning some way, because definitely do not want to get caught by this. All right, so if you're in the path of this, this is the new track I just made. So the town of Hooks at 7:32, Victory City at 7:38, and again, this storm moving right along Interstate 30, a tornadic thunderstorm and a tornado emergency. This is a very dangerous situation. This is a confirmed tornado that is moving into portions of Bowie County, Texas now. So let me look again at the National Weather Service. It looks like the circulation is now crossing I-30 near New Boston, moving east and heading towards Hooks. So again, if you're just now joining us or tuning in right now, we now have a tornado emergency for Bowie County and New Boston, Texas. And it looks like a confirmed large and destructive tornado located over New Boston, moving east at 25 miles an hour. And this is straight from the warning that the National Weather Service has issued. It says this is a particularly dangerous situation. Take cover now. And this is the source. So we're now getting this just in. Weather spotters are confirming this tornado. So there are people on the ground that are actually seeing this tornado, whether, not sure if they're storm chasers or just people that are just witnessing this, but people are actually seeing this tornado, and they're saying it's a large and destructive tornado. So again, life-threatening situation. Tornado is going to be around Hooks pretty much right now. So let's actually zoom in just a little bit closer to that. trying to give you some actual street names here. Let me clear that off for you. Okay, so let's see. And again, a tornado emergency now for Bowie County. And again, this is moving right along and just north of Interstate 30. So if you are watching, if you can just hear my voice in some way and you can hear me call out your road, just please take shelter because we have a confirmed large and dangerous tornado on the ground pretty much right along Interstate 30, if not just barely north of the interstate. But that is quite concerning because, of course, probably got a lot of people traveling along Interstate 30 as well. And again, let me try to get to the local level here and see if there's anything in the path. Looks like county roads, some county roads in this area. What is this road here? County Road 2001, so just a bunch of county roads that I'm seeing here. And here's the town of Hooks right here. So if you are watching from Hooks, you need to be taking shelter immediately. Go to your safe space immediately. If you're watching from the town of Hooks, please take shelter now. We have a confirmed large and dangerous tornado right along Interstate 30, basically making a beeline towards Hooks in Bowie County. So let's go back to our normal radar picture. 1 second. Let me just kind of back out here for a minute. And again, that's that storm, and you can see that that storm is getting closer and closer now to Texarkana. So going to keep a really close eye on that. Obviously, Texarkana, a highly populated area in our viewing area. So we're going to keep a close eye on Texarkana as that gets a little bit closer to that region. But again, just kind of resetting ourselves. I want to do a 3-hour radar loop and just see kind of how this storm has been moving. And this developed very, very quickly. This literally went from a little shower during our 6 p.m. newscast to now a confirmed tornado. And you can see how that storm has just blossomed. A lot of lightning showing up with that, and it is moving right into Texarkana, or not into Texarkana yet, but it could approach Texarkana shortly. So let me get back into a tighter view of the radar here. And again, if you're just joining us now, we do have now a tornado emergency for Bowie County, Texas. Let me stop this radar so we can get a better picture here. Okay, so tornado emergency for Bowie County, and this includes New Boston and Hooks, and this is a very dangerous thunderstorm now. So let's zoom in tight here and go into our velocity, and that's a really tight circulation. There's likely a large tornado here, I'm afraid, but it looks like it is just north of I-30. So what you're seeing on the radar is the green colors going towards the radar site in Shreveport, red going away, and when you see some of these brighter colors here, even some of the blues showing up, that's an indication of some very strong winds. Let's see if I can actually pull up the wind velocities here within this circulation. That's not really giving the good picture, so just ignore that. Sometimes our wind velocity feature, when I click on that, doesn't give you the best picture. So bottom line is we are definitely seeing a pretty significant circulation that is developing across the region right now. So again, tornado emergency for Bowie County, Texas, and this storm is moving to the east at 25 miles an hour. Let me check out the National Weather Service chat once again. It looks like they are going to issue another tornado warning. This is not going to include Texarkana just yet. Let me get the specifics on this for you. This is a new warning that was just issued now, just moments ago. So this warning is going to be in effect here until, let me actually pull up the radar first while I'm reading this to you. Okay, so go to the normal radar here. And again, another big problem with this particular thunderstorm is that we have spotters that have seen this tornado, but the tornado is wrapped in some very heavy rainfall here. So you might not even see this thing coming because it could be shrouded in rain, which makes it even more dangerous. But if you are watching here along and north of I-30 in Bowie County, Texas, in the town of Hooks, New Boston, I think the worst of it probably just barely past north of you, but probably very close. And again, this is moving kind of straddling the interstate there, right along Interstate 30. So that's the dangerous storm that we're talking about right now. Let me go back to the National Weather Service chat. So this is the brand new tornado warning that they just put out. This is until 8 p.m. now. It says, and this is straight from the National Weather Service, this is straight from the warning here, a large and extremely dangerous tornado located near Hooks and just east of New Boston, moving east at 25 miles an hour. And so some spotters did see this tornado just a little bit ago, and now it's a radar-indicated tornado rotation. But again, it looks like the tornado is going to be around Hooks right around 7:30, so looking pretty within the next 5 minutes or so. Red Lick around 7:40, Texarkana and Nash around 7:45 p.m. is when this potential tornado could be moving into the area. So let's go back to our radar here, and you can see it's getting closer to Texarkana. And look at the velocity. That is a very, very strong circulation, very concerning there. So there is likely a tornado on the ground right now doing some sort of damage. I think the worst part of it is probably the actual tornado itself is probably just north of I-30. If you're in Hooks, it looks as though maybe this will pass just north of you, but still definitely take shelter. This is still a tornado emergency. If you are anywhere along and north of I-30 here in Bowie County, Texas, I want you to take shelter. Go to your tornado safe space. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Throw on the helmets. Throw on the shoes. If you have a tornado emergency kit ready to go, that's great. Take that with you as well. Don't forget the pets for sure. Take the kiddos with you, and just have the app. Have our app with you. You can get that at all times. You can get the this live broadcast, hopefully, in your tornado shelter as you're taking shelter. But again, very dangerous situation here in Bowie County, Texas, with this confirmed large and dangerous tornado on the ground. Let me go back to the debris signature here. Don't see a whole lot showing up on our debris tracker, but that does not mean that there's not a tornado on the ground. This could simply mean that there's not a lot of debris that's being lofted. Maybe the tornado is moving over an area, maybe just a grassy field or something that doesn't have a lot of debris for it to pick up. So just because we're not seeing this showing up on our debris tracker here does not mean that there's not a tornado on the ground. And indeed, the National Weather Service is warning about this tornado. But one of the things we can really use is velocity to see, and that is still a very, very strong circulation. So let's backtrack here. Let's look at the last 45 minutes. And see how this thing has been moving. So let me see here. Let's go back a little bit. So this is initially when the tornado warning was issued. This is back around 7:05. But this kind of really gives you a good idea of kind of how this circulation has been moving. So as you can see, kind of took that little bit of a dive. It looks like it moved. It looks like the circulation moved just to the north of New Boston, and now it's just kind of moving along and just north. It looks like of I-30. So that is where it's going to be, and let's do another track on this. And again, if you're watching in Hooks, if you're in a Red Lick, definitely take your safety precautions, go to an interior room, because again, this is a very dangerous tornado warning with a tornado that has been confirmed by spotters. There have been folks that have seen this thing on the ground. So there is a tornado in progress, likely still happening right now, and let's do another track on this. And again, I think with this latest track, it's going to just maybe pass north of Hooks, but it is going to be such a close call. So I definitely want you to take your tornado precautions. There's that update on the scan. You can see that that velocity is still there, and this is pretty much moving right along Interstate 30. So not good, and this could be getting closer to Texarkana. So I'm just going to leave this track up here for you just a second. What I'm actually going to go do is go to another computer here. I want to pull up the camera that we have in Texarkana and just kind of see what we are seeing. So just bear with me here for 1 second. I'm kind of doing this on the fly. And let's see if we can get a good vantage point. It's very hazy today. You might have noticed that. There's a lot of humidity in the air, so it's going to make it difficult to really see. But I want to just pull up this Texarkana camera here just to see if we do see anything that looks ominous or anything that we got to be concerned with. Let's see here. I've got to point that off to the west. Just bear with me here for 1 second, folks. And again, if you're just joining us, we do have a tornado emergency for Bowie County, Texas, as we have this very dangerous storm that is moving along and just north of I-30. And again, this passed just barely north of New Boston, and it is now moving closer to Hooks. And this will eventually get closer, I think, to Texarkana. So definitely a situation that you want to be paying close attention to, because it's not often that you get a tornado warning that has the tag catastrophic, which this one does have on it. So again, a very dangerous situation. So what I did was I looked at the camera of Texarkana, and I kind of was adjusting that camera so we could actually see off to the west. So let's go to that camera real fast here, and then I'll get back to the radar in just a second, I promise. But let's actually look at what's going on in Texarkana. Let me step out of the way here and see if we see anything. We got that pointed off to the west, and where that approaching storm is coming from. And as you can see, it's very hazy, and there's already some rain falling in Texarkana right now. And so, it's going to be tough to see if there is anything making its way closer to Texarkana. But that is a live view right now looking off to the west. And if we are going to see a tornadic storm approaching, this is the direction that it would be coming from. But I really don't see too much, at least from that vantage point right now. Okay, let's go back to the radar picture here. And we will zoom in again a little bit closer. So that is the area of concern. And at first glance, this does not look like your classic tornadic supercell thunderstorm. You really don't see that classic hook that we often show you, but just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. This is embedded within a big area of rain. So to be honest, at this point, you're probably not going to see this tornado even approaching because there's a lot of heavy rain all around this thing. And that makes it even more dangerous because you just don't see this thing coming your way. So let's take a look at the velocity again, and there is where the circulation is. Let's throw on the radar again real fast. Yeah, so your circulation, let me actually highlight that for you again. So the circulation at this point is probably somewhere right around here, and notice it is surrounded by rain. It's actually kind of on the backside of the storm, which is a little unusual. So you're not going to see this thing approaching as it moves in from the west. And we'll put on the velocity again, and you can see that's pretty much right where it is now. Again, the radar is not instantaneous. It is about a minute behind. And so where you see the circulation is probably pretty much right on top of Hooks. So hopefully if you are watching from Hooks in Bowie County, Texas, you are already in your safe spot now and taking shelter, and hopefully we won't see too much damage out of this. I don't see too much showing up on our debris tracker just yet, but again, it's something we're going to be really watching closely. And let me go back to our National Weather Service chat and see if we are seeing anything from them. Okay, so it looks like, and this is a live feed that we have from the National Weather Service where I'm keeping a close eye on what they're talking about here, and it looks like the circulation continues to remain tight. It is heading into Hooks and Leary, if you're familiar with that. Red Lick and Nash is also in the path of this, and they're issuing a new warning that will include Texarkana for some golf ball size hail. So right now, Texarkana, you are not included underneath the tornado warning, but you have now been placed underneath a severe thunderstorm warning. And so that's the newest warning there. Let's get the details on that real fast. So this is the one that's going to include Texarkana for golf ball size hail and 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And again, not technically under tornado warning yet in Texarkana. However, if the circulation does hold together, that would definitely bring it at least into the north half of Texarkana. So we're going to keep a really close eye on that. But that is the very latest from the National Weather Service. Let's go back to our radar picture here, and let's do a bit of a wider track, because I want to actually give everyone as much potential notice as possible as this thing moves pretty much due east. So let me step off the camera here just so you can get a really good picture of this. But again, that's the latest track that I just made. This is for the tornado part of the tornadic circulation part of the thunderstorm. So this is the area of greatest concern where there would potentially be a tornado, and that is the track of the storm. So if you see your town name on there, go ahead, start prepping now. Now, if there is any sort of good news in all this, it's the fact that this tornado is moving slowly. It's only moving about 25 to 30 miles an hour, so that does give you plenty of ample time to take shelter. But if you see your town name on there, definitely go ahead and take shelter, please. Red Lick at 7:50, Wake Village at near 8 o'clock, Texarkana around 8:06. So, that's plenty of time to take shelter. You can even get all your stuff together that you need and make sure the pets are good to go and everything. Got plenty of time. So 8:06 in Texarkana and the town of Gertrude at 8:13. That's the latest track on that potential tornado. And actually, the tornadic circulation just moved, so what I'm going to do is adjust that track. You can see, so every time we get a new scan, that circulation obviously moving to the east. So let's actually do a new track on that, kind of give you an updated timing on that. I'll step off camera here so you can see your town. So these are the updated times, and you can see it actually did move up a little bit faster. So Wake Village at 7:53, Texarkana right around 8 o'clock now, it looks like, and Gertrude at 8:08, Genoa at 8:17 for the tornadic part of this thunderstorm. All right, so let's go. What I want to do here is actually widen this view just briefly here. So there's that circulation there. Also, let's actually put on the normal radar and just kind of widen this. I want to see what else is going on. We've been really kind of hyper-focused on this one storm, but there's other activity around the region right now. So let's just zoom out a little bit. You can see this is part of a much larger area of thunderstorms that extends through portions of eastern Bowie County now into Little River County in southwest Arkansas, so Ashdown and also Nashville. And again, this is going to move closer to Hope, Arkansas shortly and kind of cross right over Interstate 30. And so anyone along this storm path, anyone in this area, probably going to see the potential for some hail and some damaging winds for sure. And then embedded within this storm, we have seen some of these circulations, but the most dangerous part, obviously, of the storm is that area just east of New Boston. So let me see if there's anything going on in Shreveport. I think Shreveport's still looking good, so most of the Arklatek's still looking pretty quiet. But again, that is the most concerning area. So this is pretty much our only game in town right now, is what is approaching Texarkana. Let's go to our hail tracker. We haven't looked at, wow, okay, so this is the first time I've looked at this too. There is some really large hail with this thunderstorm as well. That's probably at least golf ball size hail, getting closer to probably Texarkana. Let's look at the actual hail size now. Okay, with a new update, it looks like that hail size might have come down just a little bit, but when you look at the hail track, which is the history of the storm, you can see when it was producing that tornado, that's when it was most intense, and we did have probably some reports here of some golf ball size hail just north of New Boston. Let's look at our shear tracker here, and this is just another product. Doppler radar is really an amazing tool that we have at our disposal. It allows us to look at all kinds of different things. The shear tracker here allows us to look at the potential path of a tornado. You can see if there was a tornado and it was confirmed. You can see how the tornado started here just to the north of Highway 82. It actually started to develop just to the north and east of DeKalb, and then it kind of crossed over here just along and north of I-30. But it looks like the town of New Boston might have been spared. Maybe on the north side of town, we might have gotten some damage here, hopefully not. And then that circulation is now moving towards Hooks, although maybe it's weakening, but let's check that out once again. All right, so there you go. Kind of an unusual storm. It doesn't have that classic supercell kind of a hook appearance to it. So it's not one of those storms that you would look at and be like, oh yeah, there's a tornado there. This is something that you might look on the radar and just kind of discount and say, you know, whatever. But the problem is these tornadoes, not all storms look the same. So even a storm like this, they can have circulation inside the heavy rainfall, and that's why you have us to let you know, because we can look inside the radar and let you know. And again, that is the circulation. It looks like it's moving right over Hooks. So if you are in Hooks, actually, it's probably crossed just east of Hooks, but that circulation is definitely still there. So there's your circulation, basically right over Hooks. And then as we move this a little bit farther east, you can see we are definitely getting closer to Texarkana. So let me do another track on this. Pretty much moving due eastward. So you can see every time I make this track, the time does change a little bit. So, you know, don't look at this and say that's exactly when it's going to hit my town or my neighborhood. Just, you know, this gives you a general idea. So, you know, add or subtract a couple minutes to these times that you see, but it kind of gives you a very good time window of when this tornado might be impacting your area. But again, if you are watching from Texarkana, we do have a storm that has a confirmed tornado on it just off to your west that is making its way to the east. Let me see if we have any updates from the National Weather Service. Okay, so this is good news. This is good news. The tornado warning is still in effect until 8 p.m. However, the confirmed tag on the tornado warning has been dropped. So now what the warning is saying is a radar indicated rotation. So that is good. What that means is that more than likely, you know, there could still certainly be a tornado here, but more than likely that tornado has maybe lifted, but there's still a circulation up in the atmosphere. So, you know, these tornadoes can kind of skip around from place to place. They can move back up into the storm and then kind of drop again. So as of right now, based on this latest warning, it does look like maybe that circulation has weakened a little bit and the tornado might have lifted. But still take this seriously because, again, this storm does have a history of producing a tornado, which means that it could easily produce another one at any moment. So let me, and you can actually see just by looking at the velocity here that that circulation definitely has weakened quite a bit. So that's some fantastic news. And let's see here. And again, pardon me, I'm just kind of multitasking here. I'm actually chatting with the National Weather Service as we speak on my phone. So just bear with me for 1 second. So again, the tornadic circulation does look like it has weakened a little bit. What I want to do is actually, let's kind of backtrack just a little bit on this storm. And what I mean is, so you can see just a little while ago, now that is when we had the confirmed tornado. You can see how strong that rotation was. That's when we definitely had a tornado, probably doing some damage or something at that point. But then watch how this circulation as we move along in time. So again, that was back at 7:26, and now we go to the current time, and you can see how that is certainly weakened. That is great news. So hopefully Hooks was spared and that tornado lifted, and it looks like as this is moving towards Nash, closer to Texarkana, it certainly does look as though that tornado has weakened. At least that circulation has definitely weakened. So that is great news for sure. Let's actually go to our live camera that we have in Texarkana. And certainly ominous here. That could be a bit of a wall cloud. Let me just step off camera here. I have the ability to move this camera around. Let me see here. All right, so that is looking to the west over Texarkana right now. That's our radio tower right there. That's the tower that our camera is actually located on. Now there is a very interesting feature here. If you can see that, let me zoom in just a little bit. It's very hazy. It's very, very tough to make out, but there could be, there could be some sort of wall cloud feature there that we're watching, but it's really tough to make out just because of the haze and some of the rain that we're seeing. But you notice this little feature. I'll point it out to you here. So when you're looking at the thunderstorm here, you kind of see, and again, it's tough to see, but you see kind of this lowering right there, and there's something going on there, but we're going to keep a close eye on it. It definitely could be some sort of wall cloud feature there. We're looking off to the west over Texarkana. So going to keep a really close eye on this camera. That is definitely an interesting feature. By the way, if you didn't know this, I actually did storm chasing for several years before I worked on TV, so I am definitely trained at looking at this kind of stuff. And just visually looking at this could be some sort of wall cloud feature, maybe a shelf cloud. It's really hard to tell. Don't see any tight rotation showing up in that right now, but certainly an interesting looking sky there over Texarkana. So I'll keep a close eye on that camera for you over the next few minutes. But let's go back to our radar. And again, it does appear as though this storm might be starting to at least lose its tornadic potential, which would be some great news. But I want to actually let's look at the velocity throughout this entire storm. So yeah, that circulation is certainly weakened. That's fantastic. And otherwise, I don't really see any other areas of circulation. Excuse me. So again, that's the area that was tornado warning. It still has a tornado warning. We're going to stick with you on this one at least till 8 o'clock because just with the history of this storm, it could cycle back up and strengthen again. So keeping a really close eye on it. That is the leftover circulation, but I want to show you what happened earlier, and that is when it was really strong. That's when that circulation was really, really strong. I think it moved just north of New Boston and moved probably just north of Hooks. And as this potential tornado was approaching the town of Hooks, it does look like that circulation kind of loosened up. So you can see how it gets over to Hooks. Maybe the tornado was maybe lifting at that point, and then you get past Hooks and to our current time, and it does look like that circulation has weakened quite a bit. So let me go back to my other radar source on my phone just to double check that. But yeah, it does appear as though, let me just double check here. I like to look at a couple different radar sources just to make sure. But yeah, that circulation has certainly weakened. So that is really some good news there. Yeah, that has weakened quite a bit. So let me see what the National Weather Service is talking about here, if they're seeing the same thing that I am. Okay, this is great news. So they are not planning on extending this tornado warning, and that's a good indication that this storm is weakening. So the tornado part of the storm is really starting to weaken, and as far as a tornado threat, I think we are starting to get in the clear now. So, if you're in the path of this, still take shelter, still treat this. I mean, it is technically a tornado warning, but it's not nearly as severe of a tornado warning as it was a few minutes ago. But if you're watching in Nash, if you're watching in Leary, and if you're watching in Texarkana, just take shelter because we still do have that tornado warning. But from the National Weather Service, they are saying that the circulation has broadened. The tornado, if there was one, has probably lifted back up into the storm. And they do not plan on issuing an additional tornado warning on this. So that is good news unless something changes and things start to tighten up again. As of now, they are not planning on reissuing that tornado warning. But nonetheless, let's take a look at that velocity once again. Well, let's see here. Well, based on that new scan that just came in, might be tightening up once again. And that's the tricky part of these storms. They can lose their rotation and then they can spin up just as quickly. So there is still some sort of circulation in that thunderstorm, so that's still a little concerning. Let's actually track that thing again. And again, this is getting very close to Texarkana, so we're going to take a look at that camera once again in just a second. But again, these are the areas that would be in the potential path of a tornado if there is one, and that'll be Wake Village at 7:57, Texarkana at 8:01. We got a couple times in Texarkana. That's just because it'll be the west side of Texarkana, 8:01, and then the central portions of town at 8:05. Gertrude at 8:12, and Mandeville, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, 8:14. That'll be the timing for you. And let's go back and look at that Texarkana camera. And that is quite ominous. So let me go back here because my control for this camera is at another computer. That's why I keep jumping off here. So that is your live look in Texarkana, and we're looking off to the west. Let me kind of widen the picture here so you can get a kind of a wider picture of what's going on. And it is pretty ominous. That's definitely very ominous. Definitely. Whether or not we get a tornado, which it doesn't look like we're having a tornado right now, but regardless, there's going to be some large hail with this storm and also the potential for some torrential rain and also the potential for some damaging winds. So kind of scanning the horizon here using our camera, and you can see that looks more like a shelf cloud right now. I don't see anything that would indicate a tornado, at least from what I'm looking at visually here. But let's kind of scan the skies again, kind of looking around our horizon here. And again, this is a live view in Texarkana. And you can certainly see some extremely heavy rain. Now that feature is a little interesting back in there. I've got to keep a close eye on that. But I think what's happening here is that we got a big old shelf cloud coming in. So let me point out a few things here on this camera shot, which is really cool to see this. So it's good we have these tools at our disposal. But what you're seeing here is this right here, this cloud right here, that is the shelf cloud. So that's moving in. That's going to indicate some strong damaging winds. And then look at this. You just have this heavens are just opening up. As you can see how your visibility just disappears. See that white color right there? That is probably some large hail and some absolutely torrential rainfall right on the other side of that shelf cloud. So as this moves into our camera vantage point, we're probably going to lose a lot of our visibility, and the rain is going to be coming down very heavily there. So again, that's a live view in Texarkana that we're seeing that. Let me look at the National Weather Service again. And yeah, so no updates from them. That's good. As long as they don't give you updates, that means that probably they're going to allow this tornado warning to expire at 8. Okay, so here they're looking at Cass County Skywarn. Some of the operators, there are people out there that drove up Highway 8 about 6 miles and found no signs of damage, so that's good. I don't know exactly where that is or where they were, but at least right now not getting any reports of damage, but it's still very early and they'll have to go do some damage assessments. Okay, so that's the live look in Texarkana. Let's go back to our radar picture and again see what that storm looks like now. And you can see that that is getting ready to cross right over I-30 as we speak. So pretty much that's not going to be a fun drive at all. If you're driving from Hope, Arkansas, all the way down towards Texarkana, that is not going to be a good stretch right now at all. Let's take a look at the hail sizes and see if we have any hail. Maybe some quarter-size hail, maybe dime to quarter-size hail moving closer to Texarkana right within that thunderstorm. And let's look at the velocity again. And again, there is still a little bit of a circulation showing up, and that's right here. You can kind of see that right there. But earlier, this was actually much stronger north and west of Hooks. That's kind of made a southward dive, so it's now actually south of Interstate 30. And we'll keep a close eye on that because, again, these storms, sometimes they like to cycle, and they like to kind of strengthen and intensify once again. So it does look like if there is a new circulation developing, it's going to be that one a little bit farther to the south now, and that would actually put it closer into downtown Texarkana if that is a new circulation. So definitely going to keep a close eye on this. I don't think the storm is quite done yet. We'll see if the National Weather Service, what they decide to do with this tornado warning at 8 p.m. There is the chance that they will allow it to expire, but there is also the chance if this circulation tightens up anymore, there's the chance that they might actually issue a new warning. We'll just have to kind of see how that plays out. But again, that's the live look right now at the radar. That's their potential circulation is going to be right here. And let's track that. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, so there's your new radar update, and I don't know, I'm a little suspicious here that we might see a circulation redeveloping, so let's just kind of, let's see what happens here, but they might reissue that tornado warning, I'm not sure. So just to the west of Wake Village and just to the south and, well, basically just due west of Texarkana right now, we do have a potential tornadic circulation, so let me kind of highlight that area that we're concerned with here. That would be, if there is a tornado in this storm, that's where it would be. And then let's track that into Texarkana. So let's see here. Okay. So again, timing really hasn't changed much there, and that's the good news in all of this is that the storm is moving fairly slowly. So Wake Village around 7:58, that'll be the timing for you. Downtown Texarkana, probably anywhere from about 8 o'clock to about 8:06, depending on what part of town you're in. You don't have that much more time. You got about 10 more minutes before this storm moves overhead and the town of Gertrude at 8:12. Let me take a look at that Texarkana camera once again. And definitely quite ominous there. So keeping a really close eye on this camera. It's a really nice tool that we have this able to use because sometimes our best tool, I mean, the radar's great, but it is also nice to be able to actually visually see this on these cameras. So let me kind of pan this around again. Okay, so this is what is moving into Texarkana as we speak. And those clouds that you see right there, those look scarier than they actually are. That is not a tornado that you see. That is actually what we call a shelf cloud. So that is some strong wind pushing forward ahead of the thunderstorm there. That's what kind of gives those clouds that appearance. You kind of see that line there in the middle of your screen. And then if there was going to be a tornado, it'd probably be somewhere back in here, but I really don't see anything that kind of jumps out right now that would potentially be a tornado. We'll keep an eye on this area right here. I'll keep an eye on that area, but right now looking okay in Texarkana, but definitely going to get some hail and some wind out of this, and certainly something we'll continue to closely monitor as we head through the next couple of minutes. That right there is just what we call a scud cloud. That's the actual name of the cloud. That's just some rain-cooled air, so a lot of times these get mistaken for tornadoes. That is not a tornado that you see there, and otherwise don't see anything that really stands out, at least visually right now, but let's go back to the National Weather Service. So the National Weather Service is indicating that they are seeing that same area of rotation that I just saw. They're saying there's a broad circulation on the radar just south of I-30, but they're currently not planning on reissuing that warning, but they're going to closely monitor that just in case that does decide to tighten up as it moves into Texarkana. So again, we're going to keep a close eye on that as well. These storms farther to the north of this one, up into southwest Arkansas, mostly looking like a hail threat at this point. But again, we're going to keep a close eye. Again, all these storms this evening will have the potential to produce some damaging winds and some large hail. And, you know, even though I said the tornado threat is low, as we've seen the last couple of days, it's low, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. We've already seen this particular storm that's moving into Texarkana did have that confirmed tornado just a little while ago. Let me see here one second. Let's go back to our radar. That is a little ominous, I'm not going to lie. That actually could be a developing wall cloud here as we're looking off to the west. So going to keep a really, really close eye on this camera as I get closer to Texarkana. All right, let me look at the radar once again and see what's going on. Let's get really close into Texarkana here and see if we have any tightening of a circulation. It's a fairly broad circulation right now. By the way, that camera that I've been showing you is actually not located in Texarkana. That's actually off to the south and west. And I think that camera, our camera location, is somewhere south of that circulation. So this might actually be a really good picture of what's going on right now. But I want to track this again for you as we get really close into Texarkana. So if you're watching from Wake Village, if you're watching from North Robinson Road, Redwater Road, South Kings Highway, and then getting into Texarkana, there is a potential circulation developing here and moving into the Texarkana area, so going to keep a close eye on this. It does appear that the circulation might be strengthening a bit, so I would not be surprised at all if the National Weather Service decides to reissue this tornado warning, because that looks like it could be re-strengthening just a touch. So let's do another track on that. And that is going to be making its way really close to Texarkana. probably pretty soon. So I'm saying in a few minutes. So if you're watching in Texarkana, go ahead and take shelter. If you're watching anywhere in the Texarkana area, Wake Village, anywhere basically along and south of I-30 in Texarkana, I would go ahead and get in your tornado safe space, as we tell you over and over again. Get into an interior room, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and just take shelter from this, because again, it does look like that circulation might be trying to kind of re-strengthen once again. So let me look at that live camera again, see if we still have a good vantage point of that. Keeping a really close eye on that. Definitely a little ominous there. So keeping an eye on our Texarkana camera. In fact, I'm going to kind of pan that around once again, because since we have this awesome view of the storm, it's really nice to actually be able to see what's going on. So that right there, let's kind of pan around here once again. So that is basically our tower where our camera is located right there. So let's kind of pan around, and we look off to the north, and that's a good vantage point of that circulation. So I showed you that circulation on the radar picture, and that could be a potential wall cloud. Yeah, definitely some very ominous looking skies there in Texarkana. We're going to keep a really close eye, but if you are watching right now, if you're just tuning in, we do have a tornado warned storm heading directly into downtown Texarkana now, so going to keep a really close eye on that. The circulation is approaching downtown Texarkana now, and just as expected, the National Weather Service has now issued a new tornado warning because, as I showed you, that circulation has strengthened once again. So now we have a new tornado warning, and that's going to be south of I-30, heading right into Texarkana. So let's get the very latest on that warning here. This is going to be for west central Miller and east central Bowie County in northeast Texas until 8:30. So the tornado warning now goes till 8:30. It's located over Wake Village, moving east at 25 miles an hour. This is going to move right into Texarkana here. Well, it's pretty much right there. So it says the circulation is approaching downtown Texarkana near Wake Village, and so you should be in your safe place as we speak. Let's get back to that camera again. And that is certainly quite ominous. So we're gonna really gotta watch this thing. There are a couple areas of potential concern, and we're gonna keep an eye on this very, very, very closely. I don't like the way that looks. So if you are in Texarkana, please take shelter. Tornado warning has now been issued for Texarkana. And again, just checking the battery on my microphone here to make sure I got plenty of juice here to keep talking with you guys. So again, tornado warning has now been issued for Texarkana. This is a live view. This is a live view right now from our Skycam looking to the north and northeast. And this is what is moving into Texarkana as we speak. So again, this is the area that we're watching right now. And if there was going to be a tornado, it'd probably be wrapped in rain. I don't think you're going to actually be able to see this visually. But again, that circulation is tightening up just a bit. So let's go back to the radar once again. And you can see that that storm is moving right into Texarkana. So let's just get really close here to street level and show you the areas that are going to be in this. So Wake Village, the circulation, if there is something going on, it's going to be right on top of you as we speak. This is just moments away from moving into Texarkana, and the velocity has increased a little bit. It's still not nearly as strong as it was when this was up in Bowie County near New Boston. That's when it was at the strongest, but still, there is certainly a little bit of a circulation showing up there, and that's going to continue to make its way to the east. So let's kind of zoom in hyper-local here. So Interstate 369 there in western suburbs of Texarkana, near Wake Village, North Kings Highway, South Robinson Street, Finley Street, Garber Street. So if I'm calling out your street name, go ahead and get in your tornado safe space, because this circulation is making its way closer and closer and closer to Texarkana. So let's look at some of these other streets here. Jefferson Road, West 4th Street, Jameson Street, Bowie Street, Spruce Street. So this is, again, this is getting to downtown Texarkana right here. So circulation not too far away. It looks like if there is anything, this is going to move right over the downtown Texarkana area. So again, please take shelter. And there it is. You can kind of make out maybe a little bit of a hook feature there. The storm has really not had that classic presentation that these supercells sometimes do with tornadoes. But if there is something, it's going to kind of be on the southwestern edge of where that heavy rainfall is. So that's look at the velocity again. Let's take another look at that live camera in Texarkana, and going to keep a really, really close eye on that. And I know I'm using this camera a lot, but it's not often that you get a vantage point like this where you can actually see into the circulation of the thunderstorm. So very, very interesting. All right, so again, we're looking basically due north, and this is pretty much looking right at downtown Texarkana. So if there is going to be any sort of a tornado in this thunderstorm, it really would be back in this area here. I don't see anything. I don't really see anything that stands out right now, but that is certainly the area that we want to watch. So we're going to keep this camera kind of focused right there, and that is Texarkana. We're looking basically directly at downtown Texarkana. Let me just zoom in a little bit closer and see if we see anything. You see those lights there in the distance? That's the downtown area, I believe. And then if we kind of look into the rain here, it's tough to make out, but I don't see anything that stands out at me that there would be a tornado in progress. But certainly there is some circulation in this storm, and certainly it is enough that the National Weather Service has decided to issue that tornado warning. Okay. Okay, so let me just see if I see any updates here. Okay, so the wall cloud is visible from the area tower cameras, and so this is what we're looking at right here. So if you're watching in Texarkana right now, this is a storm that's moving into the downtown area, and there is a wall cloud associated with this. And if you know much about severe weather, you know that when you have a wall cloud, that is often an indication of a potential tornado. Not saying there is going to be one for sure here, but whenever you get that wall cloud feature like that, that's definitely an indication that there could be something trying to get going here. So got a raindrop right in our viewpoint there, but I'm going to keep that camera pointed at Texarkana for a little bit longer here. Excuse me while I drink some water. Okay. All right, so just based on that camera presentation, I don't see anything that would really stand out to me as a tornado, but we're going to keep a close eye on that. Let's go back to the radar picture here and check that out and see if there are any changes with that. Okay. And you can see this is kind of turning into more of a line segment now. So this is going to impact places like Hope, and this is going to move pretty much all along the I-30 corridor here. And so Hope, Arkansas, going to get some torrential rain. And this whole stretch of Interstate 30 is not going to be fun. And I actually have a family member right now driving on Interstate 30, and he's actually driving right towards Hope right now and moving closer to Texarkana. So if you see me texting on my phone, I'm just warning my family member of what's going on here. We've got a couple family members heading into town on I-30. So I'm going to be multitasking. If I see that my family is in a path of danger here on I-30, I'm going to give a quick little text as well. So again, watching this tornadic circulation moving right into downtown Texarkana. So let's zoom in again and look at the velocity. And really tough to say, but maybe this thing is loosening up just a little bit. You see how so this is the reason the National Weather Service kind of reissued that warning. So this storm has kind of been cycling. It's what we call cycling. So we had this strong circulation earlier, then it sort of weakened again, then sort of started to tighten up again. Now it seems to be weakening again. So that's how these storms can work sometimes. They kind of tend to cycle. And the latest update, currently what it looks like now, let's go to the current view. And that's currently what it looks like. So if there is some sort of tornado in this storm, it's moving right into Texarkana on the southwest side of town right now. But this has been quite a storm here because let's go back the last 45 minutes. I want to show you where the circulation started off. And look at that. This is when the warning was first issued earlier. And you can see it was a really tight circulation here near New Boston. That's when we had a confirmed tornado. And hopefully we don't have too much damage. But storm spotters actually did see a large tornado with this storm just about 1 hour ago. But then you can see how that circulation kind of fell apart and kind of moved to the south a little bit and then kind of re-strengthening. And now it does look as though, just based on what I'm looking at, I don't think Texarkana has an immediate threat of a tornado. Having said that, still take shelter in your safe space, but I just want to put everyone's mind at ease that is watching in Texarkana. I don't see any indication right now that there's actually a tornado in progress here. There is definitely circulation in the thunderstorm, but I don't think it's anything that you got to panic over. So still take your shelter, go into an interior room, but as of right now, if you are in downtown Texarkana, I think we're going to be okay. It looks like the circulation might be weakening just a touch. Taking a look at the camera once again, and it's getting really tough to see. We're kind of losing some of our daylight now, unfortunately. But those lights that you see, that is Texarkana, and that would be some sort of potential wall cloud there, so keep a close eye on that. Looking at the National Weather Service chat again. Let's see here. No real updates on this storm. So I do believe that this circulation is starting to weaken a little bit, but nonetheless, we're going to stick with you guys because this storm does have a history of producing tornadoes, and the National Weather Service, you know, they reissued that tornado warning, so we're going to stick with you here probably for at least another 20, 25 minutes, and we'll see what happens. This is supposed to go till 8:30. We'll see if they decide to extend that warning even longer, which is certainly going to be a possibility. And let me go back to, let's kind of clear everything out. Let's clear all the radar out and show you where the warnings are. This is kind of, I like to do this every once in a while. I like to kind of reset myself because for folks that are just joining us, they can kind of get an idea of the locations in this tornado warning. So you can see right over Texarkana, that is where we have the tornado warning right now. That is the new warning that was just issued here, and this does extend into Miller County there in southwestern Arkansas. And this is going to go until 8:30. Now, that larger area that you see just north of Texarkana, that is your severe thunderstorm warning. That does include Little River County and even the southeastern corner of McCurtain County. These severe thunderstorm warnings, that's mostly for large hail and damaging wind. And we also have more warnings off to the north of Hope. Okay, let's go back to our radar picture. And let's zoom back in here and kind of reset ourselves. There is another storm here in southeastern McCurtain County that kind of has that weird appearance, that kind of suspicious appearance to it. So let's look at the velocity in that one. There is a little bit of a circulation also in McCurtain County here, just to the southeast of Haworth, and it's going to move into the western sections of Little River County. There's Foreman, there's Jewell. And this is in southwest Arkansas. So there is a little bit of some sort of circulation there in McCurtain County, but the National Weather Service doesn't seem overly concerned about that. And looking farther north towards Hope, it looks like more of a damaging wind threat. Taking a look at the hail sizes here, don't see a whole lot of hail, although there might be some larger hail coming right into Texarkana. So if you're watching in Texarkana, this could be some quarter-size hail. Might want to put the car in the garage. Definitely a hail maker and some damaging wind potential. But as of right now, I don't really see, let me just double check, a huge tornado threat, although there is still that tornado warning. So, you know, got to treat all tornado warnings the same. However, within the criteria of tornado warnings, there's different levels of a tornado warning. The warning that we had earlier in Bowie County, that was a tornado emergency. That was a large confirmed tornado. That was a serious situation. The tornado warning that we're seeing now in Texarkana, not quite as serious of a tornado warning. However, it is still a tornado warning. So you still want to take your shelter. However, this is a Doppler indicated, and there are there's no confirmation right now that there's actually a tornado on the ground. Again, there's where that circulation is. So let's kind of get to street level again. So Bowie Street, West 14th, West 9th, basically all of downtown Texarkana. If you're watching anywhere in downtown Texarkana, please take your shelter right now. Go to an interior room, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Here's kind of a cool little graphic, just kind of give us a little bit of a break from the radar. But here's where you want to take shelter if you are in your house. So again, that's kind of the layout of the home. And what you want to do is take shelter into the center part of your house, away from the windows. Cover your head with a helmet, blankets, or pillows. It sounds weird, but if there's flying glass or there's debris flying around, it's always good to make sure you have your head covered and use blankets or pillows to kind of shelter yourself. Kids as well, kind of another good place to go is in a bathtub and put a mattress over you. And the reason why you want to maybe go into a bathtub too is because the plumbing lines go deep into the ground. So a lot of times when you look at tornado video of houses that are left behind, one of the only things still standing a lot of times is the bathtub, because the plumbing goes so deep into the ground, kind of anchors it into the ground. So bathtub's a good spot. I know it sounds weird, but it is a safe location. Really quickly, let's kind of go to that severe thunderstorm watch and show you the watch. Not a lot of changes here. It does include more of southwest Arkansas. This watch continues here until 10 p.m. And let's go back to the radar once again. And it looks like the worst part of that storm is moving right through downtown Texarkana, and we'll see if there's any circulation on that. And yeah, there is still a circulation moving right over downtown right now. So let me see if the National Weather Service sees anything else. So it looks like there's some dime-sized hail being reported in Lafayette County in Arkansas. That's one of the only reports that I see right now. Otherwise, They're going to continue the tornado warning. Here's the latest update on that tornado warning in Texarkana. It's still in effect until 8:30. A storm capable of producing a tornado, so they're seeing this on the radar indicated rotation. Also the potential for some half-dollar size hail. So certainly a hailmaker there, and again, there is definitely some sort of circulation moving right over Texarkana. Not the strongest circulation, but it is still there. So still want to treat this thing seriously until we can really see this circulation dissipating. But literally over downtown, that is where we are seeing that tornadic circulation right now. So the green that you see there, that is wind in a different direction towards the radar. The red in another direction. So, you know, if you're standing here, the winds are going to be coming in from the southeast. If you're right across the street here, the winds will be coming in from the northwest. And that right there, that is your circulation moving into downtown Texarkana. So let's get some streets on there, some bigger streets. There's Highway 67 and Nash-Thompson. And there's I-49 right there, so that'll be crossing closer to I-49. And again, that's that area of circulation getting closer to Texarkana. I'll go back to the radar here. And definitely a big supercell. Now, this is starting to acquire more of those supercell characteristics. We didn't really see this earlier, but you're starting to see more of that kind of hook feature there on the backside. This is some inflows. This is some warm, humid air coming in from the south, kind of punching into that thunderstorm, and then on the backside you have that rain-cooled air. So kind of getting more of that classic appearance of a supercell thunderstorm. We didn't have that earlier, but again, if there is going to be a tornado, it's pretty much going to be right on top of Texarkana, and I don't really see any indication now that we have a tornado in progress. But keeping a really close eye. I'm looking at my radar source on my phone too. It just has some features that this one doesn't. So just want to be extra cautious and extra sure that we're not seeing any sort of circulation. But I don't really see anything right now that tells me there's actually a tornado on the ground. Nonetheless, that is still a pretty dangerous looking storm, so we've got to keep a close eye on that. And it certainly has that look to it that would suggest that this could still cycle again and strengthen again and maybe produce some sort of a tornado. So going to keep an eye on that. Update from the National Weather Service. Okay, so the latest update from the National Weather Service, they're talking about how the, let's see here. It says the circulation continues to move into Texarkana right now. It remains radar indicated rotation, and they're going to issue a downstream severe thunderstorm warning. So maybe this will be allowed to expire, this tornado warning here at 8:30. Let's hope it does. But for now, we're going to stick with you. We are just going to stay on here until this tornado warning is canceled. And the reason for that is because this storm is very dangerous, and it does have a history of producing tornadoes, and a large tornado at that. As this was moving north of New Boston in Bowie County, we did get a report of a large tornado with this thunderstorm. So still a dangerous storm here, and based on some of the new radar images that I'm seeing, might be trying to cycle once again. So going to keep a close eye on that. Let's go back to our camera here in Texarkana. Getting a little tough to see because, again, we're losing some of our daylight now, but the storm that we're watching is really out here in the distance and not looking nearly as ominous as it was earlier, but that's also because the storm is getting farther away from our camera. And really quickly, just want to kind of do some forecast stuff here just for a second in case you're all wondering what to expect for the rest of the Arclitex. Let's take a look at Future Track real fast and look at our Future Track forecast model. And again, the models aren't always perfect. You can see the placement of the storms is not exact, but it does give you a good idea of what to expect as we get deeper into the evening hours. You can see that the storms will kind of maybe turn into a bigger line and push into northwest Louisiana, near Shreveport and Minden, and these could have damaging winds. So this is right around 10 p.m. or so as that's moving into the region. And again, that could have some damaging wind potential with it, so we're going to keep a close eye on those storms. And unfortunately, I wish I had better news here, but these storms, not even close to being over. This could last the entire night. So we could be here with you for a good chunk of the night. So again, that'll be about 10 p.m. And then there's midnight, and you can see a lot of that activity will start to hopefully move out by tomorrow morning. And our severe weather outlook area remains about the same. You can see kind of that zone in yellow there. That's where we have the slight risk. That enhanced risk has been taken out. This is a new update from the Storm Prediction Center. And as far as those threats that we're talking about here, still the risks of some tornadoes and some damaging winds. But I think hail potential is probably going to be the biggest concern that we have going forward. So let's see here. All right. Again, I'm keeping an eye on a couple things here. I have family driving on I-30, so keeping an eye on where they are as well, in case I need to warn them of something as well. But again, if you're just tuning in, we've been on air now for almost an hour talking about this tornadic thunderstorm that is moving into and through Texarkana. So now it looks like the storm itself has just crossed through Texarkana, and actually that's looking pretty healthy now. This is the strongest looking hook I have seen on this storm since it started. So maybe an indication that this thing is not quite done yet, unfortunately. Definitely could be seeing some pretty strong storms with that. Okay, so let's go back to our velocity here and just kind of check out what's happening now. And again, notice how the velocity doesn't quite match up with the radar. So, you know, the radar picture is about a minute or 2 minutes behind. It's not instantaneous, so basically where that circulation is probably a little bit ahead of where you see here. We're waiting for that new scan update to come in, and there you go. There's the new scan. See how that scan just came through? And now the circulation appears to be decreasing. So even though visually the storm looks better, the velocity is suggesting that the circulation has decreased. So that's why we have all these tools at our disposal, because you got to look at just more than one thing to determine what the storm is doing. You know, when you first look at the radar picture here, I'll put that back up, that's a pretty healthy looking storm. And if there's going to be a tornado, classic hook right there. You can see how this rain kind of wraps around the western edge of that thunderstorm. So that is where we would have some potential circulation. But according to the Doppler radar here, it does look as though that circulation has weakened. So that is some great news. Let me double check on my other radar site, or my other radar source here. And it does appear, at least right now, that circulation might be decreasing, but I don't want to jinx us here and start to tighten up once again. So I'm going to keep a close eye on that. All right, let's go back to our wider view. And let's do a 3-hour loop on this. And you can see how this has been progressing. So as that big storm is moving into Bowie County,